popping out every day, prom night. So if it's all love, show me love.
I'm back and Howarding today. Went to my alma mater today to take my son for college tours, and so I am Howard out today. I went to Howard undergrad. For those of you know, you know. So it's been a while. I want to talk about Tom Sandoval. It's been a while since I've come back. A lot's been going on. I'm sure a lot has been going on in your lives as well. But we're going to talk about Tom Sandoval. And I don't know if you guys have caught the new show, The Valley, but I checked that out this week as well. So debating whether or not I will do my 2 cents about treatment planning for clients that remind me of some of the characters on the show, The Valley, because there are some characters already that when I think about couples therapy and working with couples, some things that I'm already seeing that we may want to talk about that will be juicy, juicy, juicy. So yeah, I'm all caught up so far on Vanderpump Rules, the new season, and I really wanted to take a little bit of time just to talk about Tom Sandoval and just unpack a lot of things there with him. We did say that we were going to talk about Narcissistic Personality Disorder today, so I wanted to take out my handy dandy little DSM-5 desk reference book to read a little bit about what Narcissistic Personality Disorder and the criteria for that is. So let's dive right in. Shall we? I've got my little reading glasses here today to help me with the DSM. So first of all, Tom Sandoval, we noticed, has been getting a lot of heat. Ariana is definitely not with anyone being friends with her and Tom at the same time. I don't like it. It's like a divorce. You know, when couples divorce, sometimes different friends pick different sides. But myself, being a divorced person, there are people my ex-husband's friends with and people that I'm still cordial with. And I would never make anyone decide, right? I think Lala brought up to like, hey, I kind of understand this and I've been through it in more of a major way. And Ariana and Katie definitely did not like that. But Lala does have a child. Lala was married to this man, okay? So I think she's kind of right. I mean, I hate when people say, you know, my pain is worse than your pain. That's never, no one ever wants to hear that. It's not fun to hear that. Ariana has every right to be upset for the reasons why she's upset. She has every right to not want to be around Tom. However, to be kind of like, if you're friends with Tom, you're not friends with me, that's not really fair. People should be able to be friends with whomever they want to be friends with, and we can't really control that. And then Ariana's saying, well, you know, do what you want. I'm just going to do what's best for me. It's still, again, kind of like pick me or pick him. They're both making money being on the show. I don't know if she wants to cut off his money from the show. I don't know if that's really a realistic ask, given this is what the people want to see. You are on a television show. I feel bad for Ariana, but you are on a television show. That's how you get your check. That's how he gets his check. You don't have to film with him. But really to kind of say, hey, either be friends with him or me is, you know, really puts people in a bad situation. Really puts Sheena in a bad situation. Sheena's been a really good friend to Ariana. And then this Katie thing, I understand. The last episode I watched when Katie was going on about how, I think she called Tom a demon. But I understand why Katie does not care for Tom. They have a very complicated history. Tom Sandoval and Schwartz being good friends and Katie being married to Schwartz. It's a complicated history. And I understand why Katie and Tom don't really get along. I understand why Katie doesn't like Tom. Again, that's fine. But then to try to push that down other people's throats, like Ariana and Lala's throats about, well, can you believe what he did? And like, we all have to not like this person. It gets kind of exhausting and old. It's giving Mean Girls. It's giving like, are you going to hang with the popular girls or not? You're in or you're out. It's giving really immature. It's giving lack of depth. Again, when I talk about Katie, I've said that maybe this is part of her, her character on the show, but I would hope that she is continuing to grow and mature to understand that like people can be friends with different people and connect with them in different ways. Sheena and Tom Sandoval have a long-standing friendship. They have for a long time. They've been on the show together a long time, even before Ariana was on the show. And like Tom always had, treated Sheena very well. She's always talked about that. And so for her, that's their connection, and she should be able to have that connection. She shouldn't have to pick sides, and she shouldn't have to be berated by Katie about that. That's my 2 cents on that. I feel like in friend groups, when you're in friend groups and your friends are saying, hey, I don't like this person, that means you shouldn't like them. And or I don't like this person, and how could you possibly like this person? This person is the worst person ever. I would question, is this a friend that you really want to keep close to you? Friendships are supposed to be a breath of fresh air. I always tell my clients, we spend a lot of time at work, more than half of our time at work. When we are doing things that we choose to do, it should be with people that we choose to spend time with. And those people should not be causing us a lot of stress, a lot of grief, trying to force us to do things, not respecting our boundaries. And so sometimes we need to do inventories of our friendships, and I do this often with my clients. Let's do an inventory of the key players in your life and the people that are really there to support you, because sometimes we outgrow people, or sometimes we need to put a pause on people, and that's okay. That's okay. So let's go back into Sandoval. So let's talk about narcissistic personality disorder. So that's been thrown around a lot, and I'm sure anyone watching this has heard, oh, this person's a narcissist, that person's a narcissist. I have clients that say these things all of the time. Most people are not narcissists, okay? Most people don't have or not diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. It's just not that common, okay? So let's start there, okay? Secondly, I like to call them narcissistic flavors. People can sometimes have these flavors of narcissism. Doesn't mean that they would be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. Okay, I actually saw someone on social media talking about this spectrum of narcissistic personality disorder. I kind of liked how he talked about that. But again, I like to call them flavors. There may be certain characteristics that if you're watching, someone that may fit a narcissistic kind of vibe. It doesn't necessarily mean they have narcissistic personality disorder. Okay, so let's go to the handy DSM. I'm going to put on my glasses, and I'm going to read what narcissistic personality disorder is. It's a pervasive pattern of grandiosity and fantasy or behavior, need for admiration, and lack of empathy, beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts, as indicated by 5 or more of the following criteria. So I'm going to read some criteria. I'm going to read 9 criteria. And for someone to be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, they need to have at least 5 or more of these personalities. But I also want to know, for Tom Sandoval, when it says here, lack of empathy, Tom has a lot of empathy for people. Tom has a lot of empathy and has for Sheena. Tom has had a lot of empathy for Schwartz. Tom has had a lot of empathy for a lot of people on the show and has, over the years, really tried to bring people together. So let's just note that. I'm not saying what he did was a great thing. It clearly wasn't. However, does he lack empathy just overall? Is it always just all about him? Let's think about that. Okay, so here are the 9 criteria. And as I'm reading them, you want to think, okay, does he match at least 5 of these criteria? Number 1, has a grandiose sense of self-importance. An example, exaggerates achievements and talents, expects to be recognized as superior without commensurate achievements. I don't think Sandoval does that. Yes, he loves the crowd. Yes, he loves being in the band. Yes, he loves being loved. Who doesn't? Does he talk ad nauseum about his band? No, it's probably in his contract he maybe can't. But I'm not really seeing him fit that criteria 100%. Is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Maybe. Believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people or institutions. I don't really know about that one. I don't think that's anything we've really explored on the show. requires excessive admiration. 5, has a sense of entitlement, i.e., unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his or her expectations. Number 6, is interpersonally exploitative. Is interpersonally exploitative, takes advantage of others to achieve his or her own ends. Like we mentioned before, he kind of threw Schwartz under the bus with Rachel, aka Raquel, saying you should date her. That was kind of really weird. Lacks empathy, is unwilling to recognize or identify the feelings and needs of others. Is often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him or her. And number 9, shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. So if you're hearing these, sure, you could say, okay, Sandoval fits some of these, or I know someone that's like Sandoval that may fit some of this criteria. Do they fit it 100%? Is really the question, right? Is really the question that we want to look at. Sometimes, too, when people are affected by trauma or abandonment, which is also a form of trauma, abandonment by a primary parent, mother, father, we can start to see some of these narcissistic flavors forming as a way of coping with that abandonment, and or maybe it was something that ran in the family as well, that kind of entitlement, grandiosity. So, Sandoval, if I had a client like Sandoval, I think I would really start with a psychodynamic approach and really start looking at familial patterns. How do we show love in our family? How do we cope when things aren't going well in a relationship, like I was talking about in another segment? When things aren't going well in a relationship, how do we cope with that? Because going and getting into another physical relationship is not really a great way to cope with the relationship you're in, right? Where did we get this from? How did we start learning this coping behavior? What were our models like? Our moms, our father, our siblings, the people, the key players in our life. Were some of these behaviors showing up there as well? What are our shoulds and shouldn'ts? What are our family norms in the sense of the unspoken rules? What were things that we knew we should or shouldn't do, not because someone told us, but we just knew. It was unspoken. Going through some of these things and assessing some of these things can really help us understand a client like Sandoval and say, okay, let's look at your maladaptive coping mechanisms in the way that you cope, and how do we find new ways to replace that. I hope that what we see on the show right now is him having like what we call a come to Jesus moment in the Black community, a come to Jesus moment. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but that's what we call it, where it's like, okay, this was really bad. I don't want to repeat this behavior, because we've seen Sandoval repeat this behavior, right? And a lot of times, actually, when I see clients that are coming in with infidelity in couples, it's usually not the first time that maybe they have been unfaithful in a relationship. And so really looking at our patterns and saying, okay, why do I continue to do this? What is driving me to do this? We've all heard this saying, all men cheat, or all men need variety, all these stupid things. It's not an excuse to go out and be unfaithful. And that's also for women. There are a lot of women that also step out in relationships. So it's important for us to do the individual work. Like I always say, put the mirror on ourselves and try to figure out, what is this behavior about for me? How do I find healthier ways to cope? But really, where did this behavior start for me? And what is it giving me? Or what am I trying to fill that I'm not able to fill? How can I get that need met internally? And how can I break the cycle? So let's continue to watch the season to see what the crazy crew does. I really hope Katie has a come to Jesus moment too. And it's just like, you know what, let me just stay out of this, because like, I don't really have skin in the game. Her and Tom Sandoval, she doesn't really have to see him anymore. She's not with Schwartz. Doesn't really seem like she should have much of an opinion on it. Lala has really come to Sheena's defense, and I'm really curious to see how Lala is going to continue to show up for Sheena and just continue to play devil's advocate there of like, hey, like there's other sides here. And I think that's important to do. And we see Lala's growth on the show. Yes, she can be, Lala can be a lot, but she's trying to, when she gets it, she gets it. and she really tries her hardest to course correct. And I like that about Lala. So we'll see what she continues to do as well. Our next review on treatment planning and clients that are similar to clients on reality TV will probably be Real Housewives of Potomac. So check back for that. And I hope you guys have a happy spring.
Bitches, I'm on go like I don't see no stoplights. I'm stepping out.